All right, so you've been following along with the future of AI, right? Especially all the crazy stuff OpenAI has been up to. Well, buckle up, because their Dev Day event in London just dropped some serious hints about what's coming next.
Yeah, and it's way more than just little tweaks and upgrades.
We're talking potential game changers here.
Yeah.
We got our hands on 2 videos from the event. One's a super in-depth technical breakdown.
And the other is all about real-world demos and what it all means.
So today, we're going to break down those key takeaways, and we're going to hear straight from the source, Sam Altman, OpenAI's CEO.
We'll also sprinkle in some of our own analysis to help you connect the dots.
Perfect. So, ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay. One thing that really stood out, Altman kept bringing up these reasoning models, and specifically their new O1 series.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, this is important. He made it clear. OpenAI's top priority right now.
Yeah, he seemed pretty fired up about it.
Yeah.
But why is that such a big deal? I mean, AI is already doing some pretty impressive things.
Right. Think of it this way. Up until now, most AI models have been really good at spotting patterns, like finding connections in these massive data sets.
Gotcha.
Reasoning is something different. It's about taking that information, all that data, and actually thinking with it, like really thinking.
So it's not just about knowing stuff.
Yeah.
It's being able to do something with it.
Exactly. Planning, problem solving, maybe even like scientific discoveries down the road.
Wow.
And Altman actually said this. I think reasoning will unlock a lot of the things we've been waiting years to do.
That's a pretty bold statement. So, if you're building an AI startup right now, should you be, freaking out trying to catch up with this whole reasoning thing?
Well, Altman actually had some pretty straight-up advice for AI entrepreneurs. Don't, and I quote, don't try to compete with OpenAI directly on this.
Oh.
He said their pace is so fast that they'll likely steamroll anyone trying to build the same kind of fundamental models.
That's going to be tough to hear if you're, a startup trying to make your mark. So what should they be focusing on then?
Altman's suggestion is to build on top of these constantly improving models that companies like OpenAI are developing. So finding those niche applications, specific problems that can be solved, or figuring out new ways to get these powerful AI tools into people's hands.
So instead of trying to create the wave, ride it.
Exactly. And that's actually a really good analogy because it reflects a bigger trend we're seeing right now. That core model development, the really complex stuff, is getting concentrated in the hands of a few powerful companies.
Right.
But that's creating this huge, diverse ecosystem for people to build specialized applications and find creative ways to use AI.
Got it. Okay, so foundation laid. Now let's get into some of the specifics. You mentioned that one of those videos we got goes deep on the tech side. What jumped out at you?
Well, besides the focus on reasoning, they revealed some interesting new features coming to the O1 series.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of buzz about O1 getting a major upgrade. Tell me more.
For starters, they're adding something called function calling, which will basically allow O1 to connect with outside applications and websites.
So it can do more than just search the web. It can actually, interact with those services directly.
Exactly.
That's pretty huge. What else?
They're also really focusing on making it easier for developers to give feedback on the AI, which means faster development and more efficient workflows.
Makes sense. The more people that can build with AI, the faster it will improve.
Right. Plus, they're working on making O1 respond faster, and they want it to give us information in a more organized way, like in lists or charts or tables,
Okay, that's all great and very practical. But there was one announcement, one little tease, that really blew up the internet.
Image understanding.
Yeah. Altman was super secretive about the details. All he said was rapid progress. What do you think that means?
Well, it's really interesting because OpenAI has also been doing research on this new image generation method, which is supposedly way faster and more efficient than anything we've seen before.
So maybe they're making similar breakthroughs on the image understanding side.
Yep.
Imagine if O1 could not only process text, but actually understand images. The possibilities are insane.
Oh, totally.
We're talking medical diagnosis, robotics, who knows what else.
And don't forget about the impact on how we create content, design things, the way we interact with the digital world. It could change everything.
My mind is already blown, and we're just getting started. We've talked about these reasoning models, new features, and the potential for image understanding. What else did Altman highlight?
Well, AI agents were a big topic.
Right. Everyone's been talking about AI agents booking your dinner reservations or whatever. But Altman seemed to be pushing that conversation further, didn't he?
He did. He kind of brushed aside those basic examples, He was saying that the real power of AI agents is going to be in their ability to do these massive parallel tasks that are just beyond what humans can do.
Like when he gave that example about an agent calling, what was it, 300 restaurants at the same time to find you the best table?
Exactly. It's not just about making our lives a little more convenient. It's about giving humans these superpowers that we never thought possible.
Okay, so we've got the vision, but what about real-world examples? Did the demos live up to all the hype?
Oh, they definitely did. They were all about showing what's possible with these advancements.
The one everyone's been buzzing about is the drone demo, right?
The one where they had O1 code a drone flight application right there live, and it was responding to real-time input and even doing these like pre-programmed maneuvers. Yeah, that was amazing.
Imagine seeing that in person. I would have freaked out. It's like AI is literally interacting with the physical world in ways we never thought possible.
Totally.
And then there was that travel planning app where O1 was integrating voice commands, finding real-time data, and even making annotations on maps.
Like having your own personal superpowered travel agent.
Exactly.
And remember the Pie Shop demo?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little silly, but it showed how AI agents can do these complex tasks with real-world interactions. Like, it's not just theoretical anymore.
That one was wild. O1 found a pie shop, called them up, negotiated an order, even haggled a little bit, and then confirmed the delivery. And it was all through, like, natural language. He was talking.
Yeah, and the key takeaway there is that these demos aren't just cool tech tricks. They're a glimpse into a future where AI is seamlessly woven into our lives, changing how we work, how we learn, even how we order pie.
I'm not going to lie, I'm getting pretty excited about all this. But before we get too carried away, they also showed a demo where O1 was answering questions about the planets and, like, generating these informative charts on the fly. It got me thinking about the impact this could have on education.
Yeah, for sure. It ties into this idea called the 2 sigma problem.
Refresh my memory.
So basically, there's this research that shows that one-on-one tutoring can drastically improve learning outcomes. We're talking like 2 standard deviations better.
Wow, okay, that's huge. So you're thinking, could AI provide that level of personalized learning to everyone?
Exactly. Imagine a world where every student has an AI tutor that can adapt to their specific needs and learning style. It could be revolutionary.
Totally. We've gone from the theoretical basis of these reasoning models to real-world examples showing the incredible potential of AI.
And this is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah. We've only scratched the surface.
I don't know about you, but I am officially mind blown. So much to unpack here.
Okay, so picking up where we left off, there's something else that really stood out to me from those Dev Day videos.
I'm ready for more. Lay it on me.
All right. You know how Altman was talking about AI agents? Well, what got me thinking was when he admitted that even he doesn't really know what that world is going to look like. It's like, we're all kind of figuring this out together.
Yeah, that's what makes it so exciting, but also a little bit scary, right? Like, the power of this tech is undeniable, but figuring out how to use it responsibly, that's the tricky part. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to explore not just the amazing stuff, but also the potential downsides. Altman seems to get that, but it can't just be on OpenAI's shoulders.
What do you mean?
I mean, we all have a role to play here, right? As citizens, as consumers, we need to be informed, engaged, make sure our voices are heard.
It's like we're all part of this giant experiment, and we need to be active participants, not just sitting on the sidelines.
Exactly. And remember, what we're talking about today, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to explore, so many more questions to ask. Keep digging, keep questioning, keep pushing your own understanding.
Yeah, because the world of AI is moving so fast. It's up to all of us to keep up and make sure it's a future we can all be proud of.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And if you could ask Sam Altman one question about the future of AI, what would it be?
Ooh, good question. What would I ask?
What are you most curious about, most hopeful for, or maybe most worried about?
I think I need a minute to process all of this.
Totally fair. It's a lot to take in. But that's what makes AI so fascinating, right? It's always evolving, always pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
It's a wild ride for sure. And speaking of a wild ride, remember how Altman was talking about how a lot of GPT's output has this American feel to it?
Oh, yeah. At Dev Day, he was joking about how they weren't nearly British enough for the London crowd.
Yeah, it got a good laugh, but there's a serious point there, right?
Absolutely. As AI gets more integrated into our lives, it can't just assume everyone thinks and speaks the same way.
Okay, it's like AI needs to become a good global citizen.
Exactly. And how do you do that? How do you make sure AI is sensitive to all these cultural differences? How do you teach it to communicate in a way that works for everyone? That's a challenge for OpenAI and for the whole field.
It's like building empathy and cultural awareness right into the AI.
Love that. And this isn't about just being politically correct. It's about making sure AI is actually useful and helpful for everyone, not just people from one culture.
Right, because if you have, like, a healthcare AI that misinterprets someone's symptoms because it doesn't understand their cultural background, that could have serious consequences.
Exactly. So yeah, we're all amazed by what AI can do, but we have to remember it's a reflection of the people who build it. And in a globalized world, that means thinking about diversity and making sure AI benefits everyone.
Okay, good point.
Yeah.
Now, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about something that Altman called agentic capabilities. I got to be honest, that one kind of went over my head.
Okay, so think about how most AI works today. You give it some input, it gives you an output, right?
Right, like a tool.
Agentic capabilities are about AI becoming less like a tool and more like an agent, something that can act on its own, pursue its own goals, interact with the world in a much more dynamic way.
So less like a calculator, more like a partner, or even like a collaborator.
Yeah, exactly. And as AI gets more of this agency, it raises a whole bunch of new questions about control, ethics, what intelligence even means.
I see what you mean. Having an AI write you a poem is one thing, but an AI that's making its own decisions and acting on them, that's different.
And potentially a little unnerving, right? So as we build these more advanced AI agents, we have to be super careful about how we design them. Make sure they're aligned with human values, that they stay within certain boundaries, and that we have safeguards to prevent unintended consequences.
It's almost like parenting, but for AI. You got to teach it right from wrong.
I like that analogy. It shows how our relationship with technology is changing, becoming more complex. It's not just about giving commands, it's about working with AI, understanding it, and guiding its development in a way that benefits everyone.
It's a huge responsibility, but also a huge opportunity, right? If we can get this right, AI could help us solve some of the biggest problems facing humanity.
No doubt. But it's going to take a collective effort. Researchers, developers, policymakers, everyday people, we all need to be part of this.
That's not just a tech issue, it's a human issue.
Exactly, and one we can't afford to ignore. Okay, I want to touch on one more point that Altman made. He talked about how, even with all the progress they've made, there are still things about these models that they don't fully understand. He even used the phrase black box to describe some of their behavior.
Yeah, that's a bit unsettling, isn't it? To think that we're creating these powerful systems, but we don't totally get how they work.
It is. And it highlights the need for more research, more transparency, and a healthy dose of caution as we move forward with AI.
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier about responsible AI development.
Exactly. We can't just focus on what AI can do. We have to think carefully about how we should use it. And that's where everyone comes in.
So what can we do as individuals, I mean?
Yeah.
How can we make sure AI is used ethically and for the benefit of all?
I think the first step is education. Keep learning about AI, what it can do, where it falls short, and all the ethical questions surrounding it. The more we understand, the better equipped we'll be to participate in this conversation and advocate for responsible AI development.
Keep diving deep, right?
Exactly, but it's more than just listening to podcasts or reading articles. Talk to your friends and family about AI. Share your concerns, your hopes, your questions. Get involved in the conversation.
And don't be afraid to push back, to challenge assumptions, to demand transparency, because the future of AI is something we're all creating together.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought. If you could ask Sam Altman one question about the future of AI, what would it be? What are you most curious about, most hopeful for, or maybe most concerned about?
That's a great question, and it's one that I hope our listeners will really take some time to think about. You know, one thing that's really struck me throughout this whole deep dive is how much is still unknown about AI. Even the experts, even Sam Altman himself, they're still figuring things out as they go.
It's true. It's not like other technologies where you could kind of predict the path it would take. AI is constantly surprising us, throwing curveballs, opening up new possibilities we hadn't even imagined.
And that's what makes it so exciting, but also a little bit scary, right? We've talked about all the potential benefits, but there are also some big ethical questions and some potential risks that we can't ignore.
Absolutely. And I think Altman deserves credit for acknowledging that. He keeps talking about the need for responsible development, for transparency, for really thinking through the long-term impact of AI on society.
He even admitted that some parts of these models, especially the really advanced ones, are still kind of a mystery, even to the people who created them. They don't always understand how they're making certain decisions or coming to certain conclusions.
Yeah, the black box problem. It's a big topic in AI research right now. We're building these incredibly powerful systems, but we don't always know exactly how they work.
It's kind of freaky when you think about it. Like,
Yeah.
what if we create something that we ultimately can't control?
It's a valid concern, and it's why it's so important to have these conversations, to bring these issues out into the open, and to involve more people in shaping the future of AI. This isn't something that should be decided by just a handful of tech companies.
So what can we do? I mean, most of us aren't AI researchers or tech CEOs. What role can everyday people play in making sure AI is used ethically and benefits everyone?
Well, for starters, we need to stay informed. Keep learning about AI, what it can do, what its limitations are, and all the ethical issues surrounding it. The more we understand, the better equipped we'll be to participate in the conversation and make our voices heard.
So keep diving deep, basically.
Exactly. But it goes beyond just listening to podcasts or reading articles. Talk to your friends and family about AI. Share your concerns, your hopes, your questions. And don't be afraid to reach out to policymakers and let them know what you think. Support organizations that are working to promote responsible AI development. There are lots of ways to get involved.
And I guess the most important thing is to never stop asking questions. Challenge assumptions. Demand transparency. Because the future of AI, it's not something that's being decided in some secret lab. It's something we're all creating together, whether we realize it or not.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final question to ponder. If you could ask Sam Altman one question about the future of AI, what would it be? What's the one thing you're most curious about, most hopeful for, or maybe even most worried about? Take some time to really think about it. Write it down. Share it with us on social media. Because this conversation, it doesn't end here. It's just the beginning.
That's a great point. And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of OpenAI and the future of AI. It's been a wild ride, and we can't wait to see what comes next.